Greetings, grasshoppers. Welcome to the Bot Signal. My name is RJ Redden, and today I'm not the important part at all because we are interviewing an amazing individual. This human has grasped art in a way that I think few people have. She is a very talented designer, very talented brander, and is also into architectural stuff. She is vastly interesting. She has done my stuff, and I am so proud to bring Phephe Rose on to the program today. Phephe, welcome to the Bot Signal.
Yes. Hi, RJ. I'm so happy to be here.
You bet. Well, so tell me, my friend, who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, so I'm Phephe Rose. I am, like you mentioned, I'm an artist, designer, branding expert, and I'm founder of Brush Up Your Brand. And basically, entrepreneurs, coaches, and experts hire me to brush up their brand because most, lack industry influence. They suffer from incongruence and are just really not getting noticed. So I help them ignite a cohesive brand image to fully express who they are so that they can start to gain the visibility, credibility, and authority in their industry.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, that is, you were talking there in the beginning about how people kind of lack cohesiveness in branding, and they don't even really know it sometimes. So that absolutely can be a problem because a lot of us, at least my crowd, were people that create digital businesses. Tell me what attracted you to do this in the first place. What got you into thinking about branding and art in this way?
Yeah, so it all kind of started, about maybe 10 years ago. I put myself out there as an artist first. And early on, I kind of recognized on how I should position myself and who, like, even actually down to like, what name am I going to sign my artwork? You know, how am I going to sign that? And so that kind of laid a foundation on positioning myself and building myself as the creative person that everyone knew. And so over the years, I've gained a lot of experience. I started to do branding and marketing for other companies during my journey. And now I really focus on supporting personal brands. So other creatives, coaches and experts who you are your own brand. And there's certain strategies and tips and, things visually that you can do to really enhance yourself from the experience I've gained over the years.
Yeah. Excellent. So what are some of those things that people can do to enhance themselves that they mostly don't even think about?
I would say this really simple ones, and these are a couple things you don't need a designer for, is that I see a lot is one, your email. A lot of people still hang on to AOLs, Netscapes, MSNs. You're running a business off of these really outdated emails. And we perceive that a certain way. When you see Phephe at pheferose.com, that subconsciously, put something inside of you when you see that versus you're seeing Phephe at AOL.com. Who are you going to trust more? Who feels like they're more established? There's a big difference when you see that. And people start their businesses, like you said, they don't think about it. They just go and they run out there, which is great, putting yourself out there and just going to sell or whatever it is. But there's a point where everyone needs to kind of brush up and, get certain little tweaks like that in alignment. So it's like getting that domain. And even if you don't have a website, you can route it to an Instagram account for your portfolio. You can do it to your Facebook account. You can do it to your LinkedIn. It doesn't have to be connected to a website at first. So getting that domain, creating that professional email, and then creating that signature at the bottom of your email will do wonders to just brushing you up and making you look more professional to your target audience.
Well, and I think that when people, I think we've discussed this before too, when people think of branding, they think colors and fonts.
Mm-hmm.
They don't think about every step of the way when someone is first getting to know you, you putting your best foot out there.
Right.
And I think that, because you're an artist, and so artists are given to thinking that way, that's really an insightful comment about the emails. When I was first in business, I absolutely had my Gmail address on there, and I thought that was cool. I was fine with it. And then somebody told me, you maybe want to.
It usually takes somebody from the outside to be like, maybe it's time.
Yeah, I think you're established enough. And yeah, even that email address, and the fact that you don't even really have to have a website. You can go buy rjredden.com. No, you can't, because I've got it. But you can go buy yourname.com and go reroute it to your Instagram profile.
Right.
So yeah, so that's some pretty good clarity around, what you have to start. And I think that, a lot of people think that they just need a fully fledged website, which it's great to have. But you don't have to have it to start. That's really interesting to me. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see people who are getting started, or maybe even been established a while? What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see people doing?
I would say they skip over the big vision and they jump right into getting a logo. And then they might go the cheapest route, get it on Fiverr and get something very simple, but it's important to think about your growth, your brand growth. You're starting at one point, but in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, you're growing into something. And the brand you want to build should be based off of that. So that logo should be based off of that. If that logo can't grow with you, you're going to be rebranding and spending more money down the line to change everything to fit who you become. So it's important to take a step back in what I call the brand architecture and build that foundation, think through that foundation first before you dive into the identity and all of that. And with that too, it's like the logo itself by itself doesn't define the brand. We talked about colors, but there's also a lot of other visual elements that really bring it all together. And I feel like me and you actually are really great examples of that. You have, your ninja, and I use roses and floral. Like there's little accents that you can get really creative in a brand to keep that visual presence, that image of you going in different aspects. And with us in Zoom or virtual meetups, how do you bring your brand there? That's not falling on the logo, that's over there. There's no logo right here with us engaging, but how can you still be about your brand? And so it's really taking the time to think that through.
Yeah, and it's so hard because people want to jump in. They've got a great idea. They want to, rock the world with it, and they're told they need certain things, so they go get those things. But I mean, it's one of the same things that I tell people when they ask me, "How do you write chatbots?" I say, back up. Let's think about how you want people to feel when they're in that chatbot, and what is the outcome that you want from that chatbot. If you can think about those things, then you can start kind of building your presence. And then that really guides a lot of the writing that you do. But unless you do that foundation work, you're going to throw something out there that sounds like everybody else.
Right. And you want that bot to take on the personality of the brand, whether it's a mini version of yourself or your brand has its own personality. And if the brand has already thought about that before, then coming to you will be a lot easier, because they're like, hey, I know my brand voice. I know this little guy's personality, what they're going to be. And you can probably have a lot more streamlined process if that's kind of figured out early on.
Yeah. Yeah, people like you make it easier to get that foundation built before you take off on the starter blocks, then have to return to it when it's going to be expensive for you a couple of years down the road.
Right.
Yeah, interesting. Um, what's one thing that if you could tell everybody, well, and this kind of is a follow on to the last question, but something to avoid. If there's anything that you could tell people to really avoid, whether that be a concept or whether that be an action, what would it be?
To avoid. Um, I would say to just to avoid, I think going so fast in terms of I mean, this kind of just ties back to what we just kind of talked about, is to slow it down and think about really what you're building. To avoid just jumping in, avoid, just making a rash decision that may show incongruence, that may show inconsistency, because that's going to trigger something in your audience and for them to second guess you. So it's important to just take that moment and say, if what I'm putting out there, is it in alignment with everything that my business or brand stands for? So you do want to make moves, you do want to take action, but you've got to just still take that first step and pulling back and making sure it's all in alignment to what you're about.
Well, and that's one of those things, what does your brand stand for? What do you stand for? How are you different? It is it becomes really important. And I'll tell you, I sold my first website review for $25. You can still do business while you're thinking about these things. I sold a website review for $25 a long time ago, and I didn't have any branding at all. I think I had a business card that I'd printed up on a home printer, and and it was a lady I knew from a networking experience. Okay. You can do business without this stuff while you are building what is your brand, what do you stand for. And I don't even think I knew the answers to some of those questions until I'd been around a while, and I knew first what I didn't want to stand for, and then I knew what I wanted to stand for.
Yeah, I mean, it does. It's a big question, and it's hard to kind of have that patience to figure that out. But your brand also, what's the word? Like, you're growing with it. It's evolving, and so it's naturally evolving. Whether you know the answers right away or it stays, but there is an experience that you want your audience to get from you, or your customers, your clients to receive when you first start out. There's something always kind of there that you want them to feel about you. And so it's kind of sticking to that intuition from the get-go, whether you have all the things and bells and whistles, the right language, but there's something at the bottom that you want them to experience. And so it's doing that in everything you do. And then, the big why or the big mission will come to you. But it is your North Star. What I like to say is your mission statement. It's, for me, for Phephe Rose, like Phephe Rose is the brand. Brush Up Your Brand is, an arm to that. But I'm also engaged in other businesses and other creative projects. But what Phephe Rose is inspiring creativity, to dream, create, and then inspire. So everything I do falls in that message. So if I want to go into this industry and create for here, that's still in alignment to that same message. And so it allows the name of Phephe Rose to kind of, stand strong and stand by its purpose. And so people know what they're getting from me, whether I'm branding for you, I'm designing a house for you, I'm drawing pictures for you, that same trust factor and credibility is still there.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, that's well, and would you talk about some of the other things that you do? Because I know that as I was kind of, running around websites yesterday looking for a photo, I saw that there's a brush up your brand and there's also a brush up your space. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my educational background is in architecture, and so I've always been around the design world on that spectrum. I love residential houses and homes, interiors, interior design, interior decorating. So Brush Up Your Space is a business within that for me to be able to do that. And it's just starting out. I've kind of done some freelancing work in there, doing some drafting. So now it's gonna, build out to be its own business. But again, it follows in the Phephe Rose brand. So people who've worked with me, in different areas, I think will still get that same trust factor now that I will be doing some services in the space industry.
Well,
So
yeah, I loved the way you put it in your on your website was that we spend so much time now in our homes, in our spaces, and and who knows when that will change, and it'll probably change slowly. It won't be like one day back to normal, everyone. No one remembers what normal was like. It's going to be a slow process. So why not give some attention and love to the space that you're in, make it work better for you? I'm so happy that you offer that because I think that that is a real winner. And I think that people could absolutely use some of that service.
yeah, I mean, now again, we're going virtual and it's taking a look at your home office, so we can provide some feedback and guidance to that. And again, it, ties back to the branding. Is your home office, if you're going to get on calls like this, like, does it represent your brand? And so that part of it does come hand in hand in looking at your brand and your space as one thing.
Yeah. Every visual element counts.
Yeah, the details. It's all in the details, that you want to look at that.
Yes. Yeah, you must. Or else, I mean, and I see a lot of people, of course, kind of there are a lot of cartoons on the internet right now about how somebody's room, like within the sight line of their camera, is perfect, and then you get beyond that sight line and there's junk everywhere. I really laugh at those because well, it may or may not be true in some cases, but yeah, every visual element counts, and even some of that, like what you were talking about there with the emails, even some of that psychological stuff counts too. And so yeah, I because it's something that's kind of hard to explain to people because it's hard to quantify.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think that you're, designing an experience for people. It's like Disneyland. Every single thing you look at, hear, smell, it's designed that way.
Yeah. You want
You
to get,
know,
yeah, and you want to get slowly into that. Again, you don't, like we said, we don't have to start off that strong, but it's good to get into all that and how fun is like creating something like Disneyland. If you can put that idea, that level of detail and creativity into yourself, into your own brand, you're going to get excited to show up every day as that person, as that brand. It's fun. I mean, you get to put goggles and a cape on. Like, how fun is that to add that to everything that you do? You like, it should be fun. You should get to that level of Disneyland creativity within your brand.
yes. I'm so happy that you teach that to people. Tell me about, tell me a story about like a really great client experience that you've had.
Um, yeah, well, a lot of them, let me think. Let me see if I can think of someone specific. Um, I mean, there's one client I have who I've really got to see her growth. She's a relationship coach, and she came to me for a rebrand because, what she had wasn't really communicated. She probably did it herself. And what she had really wasn't communicating her growth, into this relationship coach expert. And so we had to kind of, recreate that and create that vision for her. And now she's like, so she was going to get featured on a huge publication for articles. And she's like, getting featured here, it's going to bring a lot of eyeballs to me. I need to redo this. I need it to, stand for who I am, represent actually like who, where I'm at. And so we rebranded her, and, she's done additional publications for this large publication, and she's just more confident, and now she's created a course. She's had her own podcast, but that's grown exponentially. She's not, when people Google her, she's not afraid for what they're going to find.
Yeah.
So she's been an ongoing client of mine, and she comes to me saying, now, I'm expanding in this, I'm going to create this now, can you help and support me? And so I just love that, to be able to grow alongside someone, to see where they started, whether it's, from zero, or like I had this and I want to, put my big girl pants on, and then just see them go and excel. And so she's been someone that I've watched go, probably from 5 to 7 figures in her business.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. And since branding is for some people, it's hard to quantify. Can you tell me, what's the biggest benefit of having that cohesive brand, like you were talking about not, being afraid to Google yourself and have other people Google you? What is the biggest benefit that you see out there?
I think it's that trust factor, because people Google you, like they're instantly building that trust. So if you were to Google me before this interview, you're going to know what's showing up, and, you're going to see me in the way I want you to see me. And hopefully we build a rapport and a relationship through that. And so I don't necessarily have to show up yet for you to already have gained, a likability and a trust factor with me. So part of the work is already done. And so that's what you want it to do, to stand for you when you're not there. And that can lead to so much opportunities, that leads to just fun opportunities, that can lead to client stuff, business growth, so much, when it could really represent who you are.
There are a lot of unspoken truths, unwritten rules about gaining trust with people and building relationship. And one of them, if you have a cohesive brand, if you are in fact the same person everywhere that you show up online, and if you have properly designed that experience, it's one of those things that is just so psychological, but it's so important. It's, when you said build trust, it was like, that's exactly what it is because I'm not a different person in this interview than I am when I'm talking to a client, than I am when I'm making a video. It's, this is who I am. You get this. There's not going to be a surprise later on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, what important work you do in the world. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. And and it's not like, and controlling it isn't, hiding you're still being authentic. It's just, you get to, kind of choose what you put out there in a right way for people to perceive it, and still be authentic, still show the real you. So I don't believe that's lost when you start to do that,
I think that so many times when people try to brand themselves, and this is why I say very often that other people are often a carbon copy of everybody else. When people try to brand themselves, they go, okay, well, if looking this way worked for this person, then looking that way will work for me. And yet the opposite is true.
Mm-hmm.
The opposite.
Yeah.
So yeah, gosh, don't look like everybody else, people. And you don't have to put on a cape to make that happen. No. But I used to, when I started my show, I used to wear a polo and try to say the kinds of words that everybody else was saying. I wasn't designing an experience. I was just trying to go along with what I thought would work.
Yeah.
And I think that when you make the jump, when you hire somebody like Phephe, then you get to make the jump from carbon copy of everybody else to a branded experience that people build trust with instantly. So you brought a gift for my folks today. What is it? How can people get it?
Yeah, so what I'd like to do is offer a free brand audit. So most of my clients, and probably many of you, have started your brand or business. And I'm here to I will take a look at it. I'll take a look at your assets, your digital assets, your print assets, whatever you got going. Let's take a look at it. I'll give you some tips and guidance how to brush it up, stuff that you don't need a designer or myself for, but just to get you kind of looking at certain things. So we'll review that and then maybe see if there's ways I can support you further. But so to do that, you can just email me at hello@brushupyourbrand.com and we can start that conversation and see where you're at and how I can support you.
Perfect. I'm so glad. So glad that you're offering folks a free session. Take advantage of Phephe's eyes. She's trained in many factors that will help you in ways you don't even know about. But if you can, on first or second or third contact, build trust with that person instead of having that person go, maybe this person isn't somebody I should be doing business with quite yet. Boy, how much would that grow your business? How much would it grow? Get hold of Phephe, take advantage of a free session she's offering you. I work with Phephe. I call her up sometimes and go, maybe I'd like a cape on the back of a coffee mug, and here's what I think it might look like. And she'll produce one for me. So
You did that actually, that mug.
I know I haven't quite done it yet, but there is something I need to talk to you about. Like right when we get off the air, there is something I need to talk to you about actually that I kind of forgot about. But yes, take advantage. Do this thing for your business. Having a brand is something that when people hire me for bots, that is something that they've got to have that. Because if they don't, then I will of course send them to somebody like Phephe. So anyway, thank you for coming on today, Phephe. So deeply glad to have you come by, talk to the folks a bit. And I'm so appreciative that you would come by and talk to us.
Absolutely. Anytime. I will come back.
Yay! You have any parting words of wisdom, my friend?
No, just thanks for inviting me to the show, and everyone get brushing up your brand.
Hello at Brush Up Your Brand, people.
Yeah.
That's what you want to do. Those are the buttons that you need to push. Phephe, I'm going to put you down in that bottom bar, but don't disappear. All right, my friends. Gosh, what a great interview. So many things that she said really align with creating an awesome engagement experience for people, because you really have to build that trust to be able to invite them to interact with you, invite them to play. People don't play with people they don't trust, or at least they shouldn't. Anyway, so glad to see you all here today. Tomorrow we're gonna have a great show because it's Friday and it's Friday wins. You get to bring all of your wins to me. We will celebrate them together. Anything big, small, business, personal, we celebrate it all in the name of awesome entrepreneurship. And that's really what I've got for you today. As you know, I think that you're awesome. Take care of each other out there. Take care of yourself. And I'll see you 10 a.m. Central tomorrow morning.